Fantastic. You made it to the second chapter. You have hopefully by now, or maybe at least a better idea of what your problem will be or what kind of problem you're looking for. And once you have done that, the next step is to think about the causes, to kind of do some research and try to figure out what could be the cause or the causes that lead to your identified problem. I think here's from the marketing guide, just to kind of make sure what we need to do in order to get it. First, we have to find some psychological causes with some mechanisms that are linked to the problem. They're linked by academic scientific evidence that substantiates our claims. There's also, if you're in an area where we understand a lot about the problem, or we pretend to understand a lot about the problem, yet we can't really change the behavior, then you have to ask yourself why. Why is that the cause? And that would be interesting to discuss as well. And you'll see that in a second, what I mean by that, when we look at the concrete examples. Or if you're in an area where there's not much research done on the particular issue you're interested in, then you need to either broaden your definition of the problem, kind of look at, let's say you look at something very specific in, for instance, financial behavior. A very specific problem, but maybe you don't find anything on a specific problem, but on similar problems or on financial decision making in general. Okay, so broaden your search there a little bit, and then use appropriated models that you either learned in social psychology or in a course of this module, and apply them. So let's look at 3 examples quickly to kind of help you understand a little bit better what good causes are. I hope that most of you have a good understanding of what like a good psychological cause is. Here, I think it's interesting in a study trying to help teenagers with mental health issues to seek help, is that the first thing they do is like they start out with a study in their manual that has a lot of participants, kind of helping us to build confidence that what they're talking about is really something that matters. And in this study with about 14,000 participants, they identify stigma as one of the 4 core themes that emerges from the research and analysis. And then they kind of do something really good. They said like, oh, here's a study that found, let me just click on my pen. Here's a study that not only found, right, if it's like a study that found that 30% of teens are not willing to seek mental help, but also that this unwillingness to seek help is related to the individual stigma. So you have a stigma and you have a problem, and you connect these two. And that's really important to kind of do for your causes, that they are directly related. So you could think about that theoretically, you could think, okay, there are teenagers who have mental health problems and don't look for mental health. And there are the same or different teenagers who stigmatize mental health, but the two things of them has nothing to do with each other. Okay, so you need something to connect one with the other. I think that should be obvious, but maybe it's not. So think of that, connecting the dots, connecting the problem to the cause that you identified, really important. Here's another one: evidence-based intervention for increasing employment of Black people within the London Metropolitan Police Force. So I think here, which I thought that kind of highlight, is that the students went into that with like a kind of a different idea. They thought maybe what is happening is that Black people apply, but because the process of selection to become a police officer is somewhat biased, that's why they can't get in. Or it is that they are discouraged from joining the police force because once you're in there, you do not get promoted or you're treated badly. But it seems like from then to their surprise, kind of like doing the research, that Black and white people have the same chance to become police officer if they apply, and they have the same chances to advance once they're in the police force. So it seems not the problem seemed not to be the kind of like that they have to increase like the rate of acceptance of Black applicants or the promotion rate. No, it seems that they needed to increase the rate of Black people applying to police force. And there's like, why don't they apply for? And I mean, if you have a little empathy, or you're a Black person that lives in London and you know there's a bad history between the police and the Black community, and hence there's some real good reasons why you might not want to work with the police force. So that would be kind of like the major obstacle in getting more black teenagers to apply to become police officers. Okay, so my feedback here is make sure that you look at what is going on and what you think is going on. I think often people already tell me like, I want to do this and I want to show that social media is a problem. I want to show that awareness is a problem. I want to show that stigma is a problem. And this might all be true, but it might not be true. And I think my biggest suggestion for the cause is to go in, do the research, and then let the research do the talking and not your kind of preconceptions. Third one, evidence-based intervention to resolve that. Here's kind of like a nice transition of applying an existing theory to a new problem. So they're interested in kind of financial debt. And they said like, oh, ability to delay gratification is really important in general. In finance, right, then they apply delayed gratification translates to resisting impulsive spending money, the immediate reward, in order to save up and increase one's saving, the later reward, right? So this is like you have a general theory that you apply to a specific area. Here it's even nicely because then in the last step they say like, okay, the ability to delay gratification also predicts financial success by substantiated by Walter Michel's landmark study. But you can use kind of yes, you can use a theory to kind of help understanding better. I think there's the other thing which I really like about the intervention they designed here is that they show that financial education doesn't help. So, and this is a little bit like what I said before and in the beginning, and it's like, what do we know what works and what do we know already that doesn't work? And I think in this area, often people think, oh, we need to just help people to be more financially wise, to be smarter. We need to educate them about the credit card rates and interest and the compounding effects of interest and so forth and so forth. But it seems like that financial education doesn't do any good, which they kind of show here in this, like using even a meta-analysis. There's so much research in this area. So education falls out of the picture. Knowledge is not a cause. And it's really important to know if you're designing your interventions. So what does not work can be as important as what works. I think, yes, I mean, that kind of links almost a little bit also to the intervention. I just want to say here in the last slide of like the bigger picture is saying like often we think we go into something and we design interventions on causes that are not really the cause. So here's like obesity is a cause of cancer too, which is true, but that suggests that when we did our research that we found out that the key problem why people are obese is that they're not enough afraid of being obese, that they lack the motivation, they don't really want to lose weight. We have to threaten them even more into losing weight. But if you, like most of us, struggle to kind of eat healthy and exercise and stay thin, then you might know that the problem is not that you do not want to do it, but it's just very freakingly difficult. Here you can also see something similar where it's like, okay, here's the National Financial Educator Council, right? They say, oh, what we need to do is we need to do kind of like educate people more. Okay, this is also on a false belief that education might help. It sounds good, raising awareness. Oh, we have to raise awareness how bad obesity actually is, and that will help. We have to educate people more. This is often the first two things we think of when we think of causes, but very, very few times this is actually the real cause. So when you do your research, go in there and look what's actually going on and not what your own preconception or the preconception of society suggests it is going on.